Hi everyone, thanks for coming along to the Cats Foundation AGM. I'm going to get started because there's a few of us online now and the others can join in, and everything that we speak about today is going to be recorded and available online. Just want to give you a quick overview of the system we're using, which is called Any Meeting. At the moment, we're on listen-only mode, which means only I am able to speak, but you can all hear me. When we do the Q&A session afterwards, everyone else will be able to unmute themselves on the left-hand side where you see the list of names. If you click on your name, you'll be unmuted and allowed to ask a question. We also have instant messenger chat on the left-hand side, and you can either send a message to everyone or just to me or to someone specific on the meeting. So, we just the presentation ready. I'm going to talk you through what we've been up to this year and some of our key highlights and things we've achieved. I'll give you a quick overview of the charity, just so you can all remember kind of what our objectives are and what we're trying to achieve here. So, our main objectives really are supporting the research for the public benefit to the causes, prevention, diagnosis and methods of treatment of Tay-Sachs and Sandhoff disease. We're to provide a support network for families, and we purchase equipment not available in the NHS, so to help quality of life issues. And we have simple aims. These are to raise awareness, to provide an online resource centre, to undertake fundraising and provide support to families. And our other key activity is supporting the research into a potential treatment. So since we started the charity in 2011, here are some of our key highlights. So in June 2011 is when we started the Cats Foundation. And in November 2011, we were able to secure our registration from the Charity Commission in the UK. And in June 2012, we made our first £5,000 donation to the research. In March 2013, we launched the European Tay-Sachs Charity Consortium with Hand in Hand Against Tay-Sachs in Austria. So we had one European voice. And then in July 2013, the research team were awarded their large grant for MRC of £2.84 million. And I'll talk about this in more detail as the presentation goes on. October 2013, we had our second fundraising dinner in London. It was a huge success and got more people involved with the charity. And in January 2014, we had a conference stand for the very first time to promote what we do and the services we provide to the medical profession. And in May 2014, we had our first industry-sponsored event where we attended at a conference in Berlin, which is funded by one of the drugs companies. So our history. Since we started, we've had 20 new cases of Tay-Sachs and Sandhoff in the UK alone. All those have been new cases that were diagnosed in that period until today, and we've sadly lost 10 of these children to the diseases. This is showing that actually the disease is much more prevalent than most people are told when they're given a diagnosis. Normally you're told maybe 1 or 2 children a year are diagnosed with Tay-Sachs or Sandhoff, which is in the UK is not correct. So we on average say there's around 6 children who are diagnosed a year. In terms of fundraising, we're averaging around £83,000 a year, which is a huge amount considering we're a rare disease with a small supporter base. That supporter base is very dedicated in the work they do in helping us support families and to fund the research. Our research donations to date will be £50,000 for the end of this financial year. And that's important because that's showing that we're having an active level of support in finding a treatment for Tay-Sachs and Sandhoff disease. And one thing to note is our financial year runs from the 1st of July to the 30th of June. So when I say in the last year, I'm meaning from the 1st of July 2013 until the end of this year, and 30th June this year. So, there are your numbers. This year, we've raised around about £70,000 a year. And after received 2 of our very first grants for projects to undertaking to raise awareness of the disease. The first one is from the Lloyds Banking Group, which is a project we're going to be undertaking to create a phone about rare diseases, specifically the lysosomal storage disorders, that we can take into schools that children can learn about Tay-Sachs, Sandhoff and many other similar diseases. This year we spent £80,000 on meeting our objectives. So this ranges from things such as equipment, respite trips, research donations, and raising awareness. And then that last year, we've had 7 new families of new cases of Tay-Sachs and Santoff join the Cats Foundation. These are cases only in the UK. Compared to last year, we've had a £50,000 less raised, although we did have a very good year in our second year, and we had a couple of very large events where a lot of people raised a lot of money. Unfortunately, we've lost 4 children in the fight against Tay-Sachs and Santoff. And here's the grant from the MRC to the research, which is £2.84 million. We're planning that the trial will start within the next 3 to 4 years, and the progress is going very well. Our largest event raised just over £11,000 this year. We attended 2 conferences, we appointed 2 new patrons, and we also created 2 new family patrons, which we'll talk about in more detail. So this is an overview of our work. As a small charity, we are reliant on fundraising to meet our charitable objectives, which is where we get the support from friends and family of people affected by the diseases. Since 2011, we've raised just under £250,000, which is a huge amount considering the lack of cases we have in the UK and the amount of people who support us. We're now trying to target grants from larger companies who will fund specific projects, which will then enable us to use the fundraising solely for supporting families. And any awareness raising projects will be used from these grants. For the research, the main grant was awarded by the UK Medical Research Council last year. The amount was £2.84 million, which was going directly towards vector development and undertaking the trial itself. So the development of the vectors is going very well, and we're hoping to meet the regulatory bodies in 2014 and 2015, so we can plan the next stages of the trial. Once these have been granted, we'll then be able to look into things such as criteria for selection. At the moment, we're not at that stage to let anyone know who and what will be the selection criteria. So for the patrons, we appointed Henry Louis as a patron and a research fellow for the charity. Brian Watson was also appointed as a patron. These were both appointed in October 2013. We're very pleased to announce 2 new positions called family patrons. These for James and Deborah Alford and Brian and Lauren Watson. These groups of people are very important as they really help us raise awareness of the charity and the diseases to a wider audience. And their support has been amazing in helping us do this. Here's our charity relationships. So as mentioned before, we started the European Tay-Sachs Charity Consortium, and we're now expanded to have 3 new members. The latest one joined in this month and was a Spanish charity dedicated to helping families in Spain affected by Tay-Sachs and Santoff. The consortium is now in a position to provide funding for equipment, and we're putting together a small grant proposal document for people to complete so that the consortium can help them. And together we're all working towards a European pathway for treatment for all the diseases. And you can visit the consortium website at etscc.org. We're actually in discussions with a French charity to be joining us, which will give us 4 members and give us more power in terms of helping families and raising money. The NTSAD, we've started to work closely with these guys, and what they do is invaluable to everyone in the US and abroad. The project we're looking at doing is working on an international register, which will allow us to determine who's affected by the diseases, what diseases are affected by it, and the stage of them. This would really make a big difference when it comes to recruitment for different types of clinical trials, as we'll have all the details in one centralised database. At the moment, these things are spread out. The impact this can have in the community will be absolutely huge. And more importantly, working together on sharing our experiences so that we can ensure that a high level of service to those affected by Tay-Sachs, Santoff and many other diseases is the same all around the world. The UK LSD Collaborative is a group we joined at the end of last year. It's a very powerful collaborative in the UK. We work together on national policies and guidelines for support and treatment of not just for Tay-Sachs, but other diseases like Gaucher, Niemann-Pick, then MPS, glycogen storage disorders, and many others. As a group, we advocate for patient empowerment and a consistent level of care nationwide. So the end game would be that everyone although they live in different parts of the country, have access to the high level of care. So more on this collaborative can be found at lsdcollaborative.org.uk. Here's some of the projects we've been working on and some that are upcoming. So many we know, we're undertaking a family conference in Disneyland Paris. This is scheduled to be in October 2014. There are currently 13 families from all over Europe coming along, which will be a great way for us to meet each other, to discuss the ways we cope with the illness, and also to meet people who will present the research. The conference is scheduled for 2 days of meetings and discussions. There will also be a couple of days for people to visit the parks and spend some quality time together. The key speakers will include Prof Cox, and we're trying to also secure some people from industry to turn up. If you want to attend, then please get in touch with us. We plan to hold the very first scientific meeting for Tay-Sachs and hand-off disease in Europe. There have been other meetings in the past where the diseases form part of a larger group of things discussed, but we want to do this solely to discuss the diseases. And this will be held in London at RSM. It's a very prestigious location. It will last for 1 full day of lectures from the key people all around Europe who will come together and discuss diagnosis, treatments, and any of the research that's ongoing. This will also allow us to highlight who the key people are in Europe in relation to treating those affected by the diseases. Other things we've got going on are our tea party for Tay-Sachs, which is a huge success last year. People are again allowed to sign up, receive their tea party pack, and help us raise awareness and raise funds for charity. Our Pin the Genes on the Cat is an event to celebrate being awarded a grant from the Genes for Genes, which is a UK-based awareness-raising event. We're doing this event to raise funds not just for us, but also for the Genes for Genes project, so they can keep continuing their work. To take part, it's very simple. Just get onto the website and sign up online. Day of Hope is the International Day for Tay-Sachs and Handoff, and we're holding a sponsored walk in Cardiff. We're planning this event on the 20th of September, and Lauren Watson, one of the family patrons, is busy organising the route and the event itself. So if anyone wants to get involved, please get in touch and you can come along to the actual day itself. So overview of our work and the next steps. We've had a very positive third year, even though we haven't raised as much as we did in the second year. We plan to hold more long-term fundraising events next year to help us raise the money that we can continue to offer families a high level of support. We also plan to hold a crowdfunding event to raise the profile of the charity to people outside of our community. We will continue to support the research in any way we can, and we actually have an active role in visiting the regulatory bodies to be the voice of the patients in the UK. We also plan to increase the ETSCC with more European charities, and we're actively out seeking those so they can join it and help us raise awareness of the diseases within Europe. We have a big campaign planned for 2015 called Racing Towards a Cure, and we'll distribute more information on this very soon. Okay. Thank you for attending the webinar. I'm going to make it so everyone can now ask any questions either on Instant Messenger or they can just unmute themselves and left to ask a question. We have a question from Kim who wants to know what other countries might launch charities. Well, there's a charity in France which is run by OzCam who helps people not just within France but also Turkey. And we're at the moment going through all of their registration details to get them on board with the ETSCC. We want to explore whether charities in Portugal exist, because a lot of the time Tay-Sachs and Handoff are wrapped up within one larger organisation. And we were trying to determine whether any small little charities which provide support to these for these illnesses do exist but don't have a very high profile outside their country. There's another from Kim. Are we in touch with anyone from Italy? No, we're not. We don't know about any Italian charities for Tay-Sachs or Santos at the moment. hopefully there is one that exists that will get in touch with us. That's why they're trying to raise the profile of the ETSCC so more people around the world can know about it. So, a question from Brad. We know more about the year-long event that we have planned. Well, that's something we're working on at the moment, and we want to base it on our Racing Towards a Cure campaign, which is something we will launch in the next kind of few months. The idea being that it's an event that everyone can get involved with, similar to the Catch 10K, but not as extreme. I can give you a bit more detail about the scientific meeting. The plan here is that one of the key problems with any clinical trial is finding out the people who can actually be eligible for the criteria to be selected for it. As the trial we're planning in the UK is for European patients as well as UK-based patients, we want to reach out and try and meet as many of the people who see cases of Tay-Sachs and handoff in Europe, to kind of put a face to a name with them, to find out actually where we are on the research. It's all well and good that people read about it or speak about it on the phone. We want to get everyone in one room together where they can ask any questions they may have and where the level of the research is actually at. So we're holding a scientific meeting. It will enable us to get everyone together so they can ask all the relevant questions, discuss the cases they see or cases they may be seeing in the future, so they know when it's appropriate to put them forward, if at all possible. The keynote speakers for that will be Prof. Cox, of course, and then we're hoping to get some speakers from around Europe who have experience in treating the illness in terms of symptom management. The idea is the first half of the meeting will be talking about the research and where we are. And the second half of the meeting will be more about symptom management, so we can try and get a consistent level of care across Europe. Because one of the things we've noticed is that some countries offer a much higher level of care than other countries, or offer something completely different to another country. And sometimes it's because that other country doesn't know or have that certain kind of treatment available, which is where we want to be able to get everyone together to discuss it in more detail. So Kim's asking what's our target audience for the scientific meeting. We've got a room booked at RSM which holds 80 people. So we're planning to fill it mainly with those at a fairly senior level around from Europe and also the UK. It won't be really for families or those affected by the disease to attend. It's more a healthcare professional meeting. And for Disneyland, which is something Patricia's been working very hard with Ever on. We've got about 13 families, which is a big increase from the last family meeting, which was held in Austria last year, which was a great opportunity for us all to meet. The plan here was we're going to have one full day of lectures to discuss the scientific side of the disease, the research, treatments, and then have a few sessions chaired by family members on how they cope with certain aspects of the disease and how it impacts their family. And then the second day would be more kind of workshops or photography for people just to kind of get to know each other a bit better and to share their experiences in a very informal way, so everyone feels comfortable together. Question from Brad. The 7 new cases diagnosed over the last year, how have these families found out about cats? Could they work there that haven't been aware of the charity? Unfortunately, on the second part of the question, yes. There probably are more cases that we don't know about, but I think a lot of those will be more community-based, where they don't seek help outside their community. Of the 7 new cases, I would say half have found us just by Google searching, which is good in terms it shows that the charity has a good online profile. I think very importantly that the other half have been referred to us by their medical professional, so the person who's given the diagnosis. And that's very important because now it shows that we're getting a higher profile in the medical profession, which is obviously very good for the charity. And our plan from one of the projects we will receive the grant from is to do an introduction pack for new cases, is to go out and meet all the main centres who provide the diagnosis to families. So they have our information packs and we get to meet them so they can sit down and understand who we are and what we are about. What's interesting about the new cases is that they're not in one pocket or one certain part of the country. They're from all over the place, which is showing that, especially in the UK, Tay-Sachs really isn't, and Sandhoff aren't community-based anymore. We're getting people from the northwest, the northeast, the southwest, everywhere. So Kim's asking, how are the new families connecting with other families? So generally what happens is people will get in touch with us with a kind of first contact. We'll find out about them and the family member affected and offer help, and then slowly we'll offer them to be able to speak to other families affected by the diseases. And then a lot of the time, the social media has been very important, especially Facebook, for people to meet and discuss, which is why the Facebook group is now very important in connecting families, especially in Europe. I think that's been one of the benefits with the social media in recent years, is that people from all around the world can discuss the diseases and how they're coping with it. So some people may never ever meet because they're based in the US and someone's based in the UK, yet they'll be able to discuss kind of all the different treatments and how they're coping with the illness. One thing to note, though, is there are actually other families who don't actually want to connect with other people, which we have to respect their wishes, obviously. So then we have to deal with them ourselves in offering our services and a level of support, which as a charity, it can be quite difficult, obviously, for Patricia and I. But we'd obviously wouldn't publish their details to put them in touch with anyone because they asked us not to. Patricia's got a question up. She wanted to ask the group attending here what they feel the benefits of the social media for Tay-Sachs groups are. So how do you think the social media groups have helped? It'll be interesting to know what people's, first of all, the advantages of the social media groups are, how they feel they've helped and impacted them. Kim thinks it's a powerful and direct tool, but personal connection is better, which is something we found, especially with email. Patricia says that there's been changes to the groups, and although she left them, she feels that they should possibly be managed by someone other than a parent, which is a very good point. Brad is saying it's good to meet other families and share experiences. You don't feel alone, which is one of the real key tools of social media. It does highlight the problem that other families, other countries don't get as much help as maybe people in the UK or even the US get. Patricia thinks maybe we should be looking into the best way to manage these social media groups. It's very difficult. We did initially try a forum on the website, but it was underused, mainly because people prefer to use things like Facebook to connect with one another, because they're already signed up and there's more people who can connect that way. Although we have obviously seen in the past it's been misused, and that's probably the biggest challenge, is ensuring that people have a safe place to share their experiences. Which is an interesting point that Kim and I spoke to in the past about the family conference is highlighting specific rules before the conference actually starts, so people are fully aware that it's an environment where people can share their feelings. It's not a place for it to be ganged up on, or for inappropriate comments to be. I think it's something that we're going to be preparing for the family conference, which is what Kim's going to help us draft, which we'll read out before the conference starts itself. That's probably one of the biggest challenges. We'll be finding an impartial individual who can manage the group. But as Kim obviously says, it does take a lot of time just to manage the group, to make sure things that are put on there are appropriate. I think it may be interesting for for the charities to potentially look into how other diseases manage their Facebook groups and forums, especially on social media. Because the whole nature of the platform is that anyone can pretty much post what they want. So to manage that is a very difficult process. So it's interesting that Kim's saying the MPS Society are a group that are part of UK LSD Collaborative, and they've stayed out of Facebook. One thing we've noticed is that in terms of other people who use Facebook, and especially in the diseases we cover, they aren't people who are affected by the disease, generally the parents, and the parents are younger than those affected by the diseases, so they're more likely to be online on social media, and have been online for many years. So they're used to using these sorts of things to vent and get their feelings and emotions out. This is obviously something we're all going to have to look into in terms of the charity, and if it's possible to find someone who's willing to manage the group. I'm not sure the whole process for that, so something we'll definitely have to look into in the next few months. So I think we'll finish on our project we want to do with the NTSOD, which is trying to put together a register. Now, registers are by nature a very difficult thing to get people to agree on, because you're hosting and holding information related to an individual, but not just the information about their disease, but about any drugs or treatments that they're currently on. So our plan is trying to launch a global register. So when it comes to actually selecting people for a trial, there'll be specific criteria we can use from the register to determine whether they're eligible. Now, these projects can become very, very complex because there's so much information that needs to be stored, and so many people need to be able to access that information and then to actually input the information into it. So it's a project that we're definitely going to be looking into, and hopefully we can start some work on it within the next year or so, which we can then get all the different medical professionals to contribute towards. It will allow us to see historical cases of the diseases and actually who's affected and what drugs they're on. I think Kim will agree with me, it's something that's going to be very time consuming for us to do, but the impact it will have on the community is absolutely huge. Okay, brilliant. So if anyone has any other questions about anything, just drop me an email. I think we'll wrap it up there. It was just to give everyone a brief overview of our work and what we've got planned for next year. So thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.